So, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening at whatever time you're joining the program Real Talk with PJ. This is a continuation of our program talking about IVF and reproduction generally. And for a number of weeks, we've been with the experts. I am just learning so many things. My mind is expanding. My heart is, even having greater compassion over what people go through that they don't need to go through just because they do not know. It's like you're in a dark room that has so many doors, but because the room is dark, you wouldn't even know that you have more doors than windows. And so I'm back today again on the program with Dr. Kenneth Eguda, who is an IVF specialist, a what do you call this? The other one that I learned newly that you call reproductive biologist. You really are a reproductive biologist because some of the things I've heard is reproducing some things in my brain. And then he is also the owner of Alps and he is a consultant gynecologist. And one of the most brilliant doctors, to be honest with you, that you can ever meet. Because I believe that brilliance is being able to talk to lay people and make them understand what took you so many years traveling across the world to learn. And we are very appreciative of your humility and just being able to be here all these weeks to just talk with us on this subject. Now, our last episode, we discussed sex selection. But today we want to talk about what happens to when people come into your hospital or any IVF hospital at that, and then they have eggs taken, and then sperm taken, and then you fertilize, and then they are fertilized. But then the family says, we want only 3 babies, or we just want 2 babies. The rest of the embryo, which is what is called excess, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw you go this way. What happened?
Oh, yeah. This actually is a very sensitive area in the field of assisted reproduction technology because,
Yes.
yeah, you know,
Because the thing is, the thing is,
a lot of things could be done with the excess embryos.
people are thinking, right?
Yeah.
People will be thinking, okay, so I gave you 500 babies and you gave me one. So what you going to do with the remaining babies? Are you going to throw them in the trash can? Is that not murder? Is that not abortion? Is that not whatever? So please, Dr. Ken, help us understand what is that?
Yeah. The question has a lot of morality to it, you know. Yes, and this is an aspect of assisted reproduction technology that has raised eyebrows, especially within the religious sector, especially in Christendom.
Yes.
Yeah, because a lot of people have their views about excess embryos. You know, we in the field of assisted reproduction technology have our understanding about the excess embryos.
Okay.
In the first place,
Yes.
there could be reasons why excess embryos need to be generated.
Okay.
Yes, in the first place.
So what you're saying that even in the IVF field, there is a need to not just take the exact number of children that the parents who come in or the partners who come in say, we just want 3 children. You don't want to just fertilize 3 children.
Oh, yeah.
You want to do more.
You know,
than 3 children.
the reason is this.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not all the embryos
Okay.
that become live.
Ah.
Yes, because more embryos don't have the potential to become live than those that become live. In essence, what I'm saying is that you just have like about 30% of embryos or 32 to 35% of embryos that have the capacity to become babies.
Okay.
That is worldwide chance of IVF success rate. It's about 35%, 30 to 35%. And then what happened to the others? They were not destined to be live because of a lot of abnormalities.
That's how you know God is part of this. That's how you know God
because of
using the word destiny.
Yes.
Just tells you that this is not man orchestrating.
Yes. Because part of the embryos have a lot of abnormalities.
Okay.
In assisted reproduction technology, we refer to this as aneuploidy. It's a kind of genetic abnormalities that even when you have all these embryos transferred into the uterus, they don't get implanted, they don't become babies.
Okay.
So if you look at it technically, it's not all embryos that have the biological abilities to become babies.
So you need to make more.
So you need to make more, one, so you could have the benefit of selecting those that have the potential
Okay.
to become babies.
Okay.
You know, even those that have potential to become babies may be transferred into the uterus that doesn't have potential to make them implants. So that way, you can't really make us take responsibilities for creating excess embryos and discarding the excesses.
Okay.
Yes, because if you look deeply into the field of a pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, for instance, which is an advanced kind of IVF that diagnoses all the embryos before transferring, you observe that most of the embryos that are created are even abnormal and cannot become pregnancies. So scientifically speaking or biologically speaking, I don't consider them to be discarding of embryos or abortion or discarding lives or all that as the word makes it sound. It is just what it is. We select those that have potentials to be babies and are transferred. Yes, occasionally when you don't do pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, you may not be able to tell which has the potential to be or which doesn't have potential to be, because that's the facility you have at your disposal. So I would like to absorb also these responsibilities, that we discard life, that we commit abortion, because they are all not babies. Just the same way that a man ejaculates millions of sperms during an intercourse and only one sperm fertilizes the egg and all the other sperms get wasted. We don't set out
to waste them.
We set out to help. We set out to bring some form of fulfillment to the desires of human with reproduction. So we are not creating them to destroy. We are creating them to bring life and fulfillment.
And you have to meet the need of the people
who
come to you and say, this is what we want.
Exactly. Because we have transferred scores and countless of embryos that never became babies. But then they were transferred. What happened to them? They were not destined to be, because they have, to a large extent, genetic abnormalities. Yes, I know there are some that may have potentials to become babies but have some form of accident and never became babies. But then accident happens. Accident happens. So they are not made to be discarded. Yeah, but then excess embryos can be frozen. And used subsequently.
Okay.
Yeah, we have like a very interesting story. A woman who had some embryos that you could call excess, had 2 embryos transferred into the womb at a particular time where she did her IVF. Then some years after, she got pregnant with those embryos. Then years later, she came back, and those embryos that were frozen were thawed and transferred back into the womb. And she got pregnant with them again. Now, that's one of the beauties, because when they are stored. So sometimes you store them because they can be used later to still make the owners of the embryos pregnant by assisted reproduction technology. So they are not meant for wastage at the same time. It all depends on what's done with them. But then you have this challenge posed by the people of faith, who think they understand the sanctity of life more than those practicing assisted reproduction technology, and they accuse practitioners of IVF of wasting lives, abortion, and all that, which I don't think, So they come wanting to access IVF services, and the only problem they have is that you create many embryos. And we tell them, we don't have to create many embryos in your own case. So we have a lot of modalities of treatment that can be adopted. And one of these modalities of treatment is to do minimal stimulation. Using low doses of medication, so that the couple or the woman produces very few eggs, maybe 1, 2, at most 3. So you fertilize the three of them.
But they forget that every month nature gives you 1,000.
Oh yeah, that's the thought of man. You know, when man wants to.
Yeah, because man doesn't even know.
Yeah.
Man doesn't even know. Like, it was on this show, I found out that every month a woman can lose 1,000 eggs.
Oh yeah.
Right? So if under the IVF setting, you take maybe 20, the world wants your neck on a chopping block.
Oh yeah.
Right? Not knowing that she passed out 1,000 eggs. Like, the man releases it 20 million, you said?
Oh yeah.
Sperm at every time he meets with his wife, and then just 1 out of the 20 million. What kind of ratio is that? That ends up impregnating a woman. So when you're talking about waste, that's where waste is for real, for real.
Oh, definitely.
Wherein you bring out 20 million sperm, and then I heard the guys in the studio say, we're the successful ones, yay! Like, we're the champions. You know, when we came out, we met at, like, every human being is a success. Come on now.
Oh, yeah.
That you were able to be the one that was able to be to fertilize the egg, and here you are, a male or a female, you are the successful sperm. But and so the remaining how many? The remaining 19,999,000 when are gone. And then you, in your own case, you're doing embryo, and then somebody's saying that the 15 or the 10 or the whatever, you are the devil because you are doing that. You see, I would just say here that when somebody wants to accuse you, the person doesn't have to have any logical reason.
Oh yeah.
The person doesn't have to have any logical reason. People have accused light-skinned people for being Mami Water. The fact that people with long hair, my mom is Buzu. My mom's hair, she would pack it up and put a bottle. When I was a baby growing up, she would put a bottle in the middle of her head and wrap her hair around it. Wow. Yes, your grandma. That's how long her hair. When we were going to bury her, we had to put it together like this in a bun, and it was like a pillow for her head. And because my mom died at 80 plus, and so she had this long, gray, silky. Steph is the one that knows. I used to go all the time. She would just make sure my mama removes her headgear, and then she would just be playing with it. My mom combs her hair like that. That's how she combs her hair. Wouldn't use any product, anything. She uses what they call manshan. What do you call that? No. Manshan is not shea butter. It's something. It's fat from the milk of the cow. So that's what she uses on her hair. And she does it in such a way it doesn't. And you know what? People say you are a witch. It's gray. It's that long. She's a witch. So when people don't know stuff, yeah, they call it whatever. Remember, in this country, some years ago, they were burying twins, killing them in some parts of the country.
Oh, yeah.
Why would you have 2 children? And now IVF is giving you 4 children and 5 children at once. Wow. And so I'm just saying that ignorance is the reason why people reject an arm or a side of God. Yeah. Just like I remember one of the episodes, I was telling him that people would write me and ask me, how can you say you are the founder of a church and you're a female? And sometimes I got really vulgar and very nasty. Now, I don't know how many people are going to, so I'm not going to say it as I say it, but I'm like, if you are possessed with a devil, the devil not going to look at your male organ to know whether he will come out or not. He wants to know if there's an anointing on this person to cast this person out. And yet, in this generation, there are people who believe that if you're female, you don't have enough grace. And I'm like, do you have women doing IVF for other women? Do you have women in your field? Yeah. So they can do that, but they can't read the Bible and preach it. A woman can be the president of a nation and cannot be a preacher of the gospel. A woman can give birth to a man and she cannot preach the gospel. I don't even understand it. But you see, what becomes seriously annoying and disturbing is when those who have the knowledge get intimidated to the wall that they shut them out.
Oh yeah. So you see, we hear all these controversies, all this difference in opinion and all that, but we still want to help the humans.
those who want to be helped?
Oh, yes. So we still modify modalities of treatment to make sure everyone gets help based on your religion, your custom, your culture,
So the
or
ones who don't want
whatever.
surrogacy, you try to see how you can rejuvenate the ovaries. The ones who, right, who don't want surrogacy. Is that
Egg
right?
donation.
Or egg donation.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
don't want nobody else's egg,
Oh,
they
yeah.
want theirs, so you rejuvenate the
Yeah.
ovaries and then so they can produce their own. And then those who also don't want surrogacy, what do you do with those ones though?
Oh, yeah. Well, they have to try getting it all by themselves, carrying the
The
pregnancies by
pregnancy
themselves.
by
You don't want
themselves. And
surrogacy,
there are
as if you're
people at a
healthy enough to
certain
carry.
age or a certain health situation can't carry the pregnancy, and then so there's nothing you can do. You just tell them, if you don't want surrogacy, this is the only way out for you. And then so I'm saying that when the one who doesn't know what to do has a louder voice than the one who knows what to do and causes this other person to shut up and to or to just blank out, that is a bigger sin.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Bible says, he that knows to do right and does not do it, to him it is sin. And you know what to do to help the woman, or you know what to do to help the man, as long as they would listen to programs like this and say, you know what, let me find how I can have I can have the male children I've been looking for, instead of being like my sister-in-law, one of my members of my family who has 9 girls because she wanted a boy. If this options was available at that time, she would have just come and say, okay, you know what, egg selection. It didn't mean that there were no sperm for how do you call it, for boys in the time that she, from her husband's sperm or whatever, but it's like the female own was more, and all the time the female ones were faster, and so they got to they got to the eggs faster than the other ones, and then 9 times she had girls, and she didn't set out to have 9 children, but she ended up with 9 children because she was looking for a male child. She just wanted a male child.
Oh, yeah.
And what's the difference? What's wrong in just having the male child? And now we know that nobody can accuse the IVF specialist of having to waste life because you fertilize so X number of eggs, and then you take out this, and then the remaining embryo you discard or you freeze or you do, what you do.
We actually don't even discard embryos.
Oh, okay. What do you do?
So we leave the responsibilities to the couple, because
Okay.
in my facility, ALPS Hospitals and
Yes.
Diagnostics,
Yes.
and what we do is this: in the consent form, you sign whatever you want us to do.
Oh, so the decision not even yours.
So the decision is yours. If you want excess embryos to be frozen, you sign for them to be frozen.
If you want them discarded,
You discard them yourself.
you want to put it, cook it, eat it, put it back in your body. Like, I don't know.
So we don't take responsibility. So those who want embryos to be frozen will indicate from the beginning of the cycle and make allowance for the embryo frozen, to be frozen.
Okay.
The embryos that are good enough to be frozen will be frozen.
Okay.
Yeah. Those who don't want excess will tell us what they want, and we do exactly what they want with their permission, with their consent.
Yes.
So now you still have people who don't even want you to stimulate them to produce many eggs for religious reasons.
Yeah. They just
because
say, give me
they
2.
are strong on their belief or in their beliefs. So we stimulate them minimally. So we have this kind of IVF we call minimal stimulating IVF cycle, or minimal stimulation IVF, where you use very low dose medication. So they produce only 2 eggs. You fertilize all, and you pack all the 3 embryos, if they are good enough, and put back in the womb.
If they're not, you do the IVF again.
Oh, yes. You do it again. Yeah, you do it again. If they don't have good enough eggs, good enough embryos, that looks like they have potential to become live, you counsel with them. If they still want you to put it back in them that way, you put it back. So you also have those who don't even want to use medications. So we have the natural cycle IVF.
Okay.
They don't use. You just follow the natural ovulation cycle.
Okay. When she's ovulating, she comes to the hospital.
Yes,
for
and
you
you
to take
take the eggs. You get the eggs. If it's good enough, you fertilize it and you put it back in her. This kind of IVF was the first type of IVF that happened where no medications are used. But the problem here is the chance of getting bad eggs, it's very high. So, but then the success rate can be very high if you have good eggs.
Okay.
You know, if you have good eggs. So there are people that fit into this category. So those who don't want excess embryos, those who don't want to use medications, either for religious or for health reasons, could have natural cycle IVF and achieve pregnancy. And with the turn of events, I mean the economic meltdown and all things that happen to the economy of the world, the natural IVF or the modified natural kind of IVF got reinvented into the world again. And so now we're beginning to practice more of that. It is safe, you know, very result orienting, and it's less expensive, and it's very tolerable. So whatever it is that your challenge is, you know, be it wastage of embryo, not wanting too many eggs, not wanting drugs all at all, we have all kinds of treatment modalities to offer you. Even if you have health challenges where medications will be too dangerous to be applied to you, we do tailored treatment to meet the kind of needs you have, individualized kind of treatment, you know. So your religion is maintained, your faith is kept intact, your health is kept intact, and your social desires are met, and hopefully at the end of the day, you have a safe baby and a safe mother.
So it's a win-win situation.
Yes. So whatever it is that's your religion, your faith. You know what? I remember like 12, 13 years ago, I was very young in the IVF world then. Yeah, and my boss was going to be leaving, I think, the country for a training somewhere. And I was the third person in the line of leadership, as young as I was then, 13 years ago. Then the person next to my boss was a Christian, or is still a Christian. I've not seen her in a while now. And her husband was a pastor. So she declined taking the leadership position. And this was her reason, that she doesn't want to be in the decision-making class, because you'll be responsible for a lot of ethical things, moral things, or religious sentiments that will happen in the IVF. Well, she left. I welcomed it. Give it to me. I'm ready to decide. I'm ready to do. Because I don't consider such decision inimical decisions to the progress of man or damaging.
Who are you killing?
I'm there just to help decide on
Absolutely
making people's lives go forward.
Yes.
You understand? So yeah, it fell on me for the brief period, and well, we decided what we had to do, and morally right, ethically right, and I'm sure people were happy for it.
Yes.
So whatever.
So in other words, you're saying even amongst medical practitioners,
Yes.
there are people who are struggling between their faith and the practice of medicine, as much as they are not doing anything destructive.
Yes, that's because they haven't allowed
So I
their minds. Oh yes, that's because they've not allowed their logical or scientific minds to guide their decisions, you know, and see the morality in what we are doing. You know, part of the ethics or codes of conduct of medicine is one, we have benevolence. That's the wish to do good. We have the truthfulness, veracity, and autonomy. All these are things that form the ethics of medicine. You know, so we just make sure that we don't set out to hurt you. We just set out to help. And we're going to be truthful in helping you. We're going to make sure that our intentions not to cause any harm or any hurt to anyone.
It's made very
you
clear.
know, once all that ethics is maintained, and you're clear in your mind, this is what you set out to do, yeah, you go all out to do it. And forget about any religious sentiments that may be existing, because they will never end. They will never end.
They will never end.
And you know, for me,
They will never
bring
end.
the controversies,
They will never end.
I love them.
Yeah, well, because if a controversy, if somebody is raising a question and attention should be paid to it, you pay attention to it.
Oh, yeah.
But for me, I think where it concerns my own, area of calling is when somebody says, "How can you be pastor and you are a female?" I don't even give you the benefit of doubt. Or you say, how can you be a pastor and be an entrepreneur? You just choose one. Initially, I get so offended. I get so offended that you think that God cannot allow you, and like you want to quote the Bible and not know that the person who did the greatest work in the Bible that we read was an entrepreneur and also a shepherd of people who is called Paul. How ignorant can you be to say that you cannot be an entrepreneur and be a pastor? Choose one. I don't even understand it. But you see, that doesn't mean that there are no, like you have medical doctors who are still wondering whether they should do this. We also have pastors who are still wondering whether they should preach the gospel and still have what takes care of their own need. Because they would rather take it that the people they pastor meet their needs, not the other way around. Mm-hmm. You know? Mm-hmm. So however you look at it, when someone has decided to stay in the place of ignorance, that's their own choice as well. Mm-hmm. But the problem is they want their own choice to be your own choice. Mm-hmm. And instead of, you are not the one accusing them of not studying scripture very well. They are the ones saying you're not studying scripture very well. Because, of course, they say the empty barrels, how do they say it? Define? They make the loudest noise. They want to make so much noise and say, you are so, it's not even worthy of being called a controversy. It's not a controversy because you're just being ignorant.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a controversy. Because if hospitals are bad, they're bad from their gate to the other end. You can't choose the part of a hospital and say this part of the hospital is Christian. And then this part is unbeliever. I don't understand. Orthopedics is good. When you break your leg, somebody should fix it. But when your tubes are blocked, everybody should leave it blocked.
Hey, what did they say when people use prosthetic arms?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
And they accept that and it's celebrated. And the hand was not created by God. Okay. And
that is the real artificial insemination.
Insemination, that's really artificial. But then people accept that. And then, oh, goodness me. They accept that. And then they say, the one, because the doctor took the sperm and the egg, put it here, and then when it's fertilized, if it doesn't fertilize, she can fertilize, say, wash it, they go and put it back in the same person. That's the one that is iniquity. Come on, people. Come on, people. I know common sense is not common, but try and make this one common. This is not too hard. This is really not too hard. It just takes you to lock your brain in a box and throw away the keys to think that God is not in this. And I'm just saying, go over all the other episodes. Get that number on the screen and call and get all the help, because we can never exhaust all of these things. I mean, for somebody to be doing this for all the number of years that he's been doing this, and I've been pastoring for the number of years I've been pastoring, I have no record of the number of people I've sat down with in counseling. My father in the Lord and his wife are pastors. That's Pastor Paul Enenche and Pastor Becky Enenche. There are days that they will wear their what do you call their lab coat and their whatever and go out there and treat people. And they are pastors and they have not thrown away their profession as doctors. So ignorant people should get educated, not try to get the educated people join them in their ignorance. I'll see you again very soon. Thank you, Dr. Gen.
Thank you.